I wish everybody again a Happy New Year. I know it's, I've already said that online a few times. I've probably already talked to most of you, but if I haven't, if there's anybody I missed, I really want to wish you a Happy New Year, and I wish you all the best. Whatever hopes and dreams you have, that they may come true this year or in the years that follow, I would hope. What I do want to say is, I was actually going to put it on here, but my school website doesn't do so well from other schools. And also, Assumption kind of seems to block other websites sometimes. Like if you're not part of the Assumption network, there's certain websites you can't get to, and my school website doesn't want to come up. So it's kind of unfortunate, because what I wanted to do is, and I'm going to just talk about it for a few minutes, not too long. I always like to try to tie back to the presentation we just had before we go to the next one. Because what we were talking about with Bloom's taxonomy, and this goes back to when Guy was asking, how do you do that in written tests? So it's kind of difficult. It is difficult, but in actual fact, even with multiple choice, you can still do questions that get to the higher levels, get to the synthesis of the evaluation side of the taxonomy. And I actually have an example I wanted to show you. It's actually a test I did today with some of my students, but I wanted to show you. It's online. And maybe I'll try to pick it up later. I don't know. Right now it doesn't seem to want to come up, and I didn't want to spend a lot of time on it. But I'll just describe it a little bit so you can get an idea. It's in language arts, and we were reading a story about a guy named Jackie Robinson. And some of you probably, and if there's anybody in here that's a fan of American baseball, you probably know who that is. I imagine you probably know who that is, don't you? Jackie Robinson? Yeah. Anyway, he's the guy that broke the color barrier in American baseball. Up until 1947, when Jackie signed with the Brooklyn Dodgers, there were no African Americans. Blacks were not allowed to play baseball with whites in America. They had two leagues. They actually had the Negro leagues and the white leagues, and they never played each other, basically. Okay? And the belief in white America was that blacks couldn't play baseball. They weren't physically capable. They were too dumb. Because the belief was that blacks just weren't as good as whites. That was what was out there, very prejudiced at that time. Anyway, I don't want to go into this too much, but I just want to give you an idea. So it's a story about that, okay, that these guys just read. And we're doing multiple choice questions online, in online format. But I would ask them some of the questions, like one of the questions I asked them is, at one point, Branch Rickey, who was the guy that asked Robinson to sign with the Dodgers. Branch Rickey said to Jackie Robinson, he said, "We can't win this battle with force. We cannot win this battle with force. It is not possible to win this battle with force." Now what he meant by that was, he meant that because most of America at that time they called black people niggers. I mean, it did not like them. They had no use for them. And white America, which was the majority of Americans at that time, felt that black people were stupid, that they didn't deserve to be given opportunities, that they should be just in their own little ghettos and living on their own. And so what Branch Rickey was saying is, you can come and play for this team, but we can't force people to accept blacks in baseball. The only way we're going to do this is we have to convince them. The only way we're going to convince them is if you go out and you play excellent ball, you play like a star, and when the whites trash you, when they say rotten things to you, when the people in the crowd throw things at you, when somebody spikes you in the head with their boot illegally and then blames it on you, you can't react. Why? Because if you react, they'll say, this is what white people have said all along. You blacks are animals, you're barbarians, look at the way you're acting. Now that meaning is pretty hard, right? You say, how the heck can you test that with multiple choice? Right? So what I did was I put the quote up there. We can't win this battle with force, or I don't remember the exact word, but that's pretty close to it, right? Then I said, what did Branch Rickey mean by this? And I gave multiple choice. He meant that we need military force in order to overcome the opposition, right? Now keep in mind, these are 7th graders, so that actually might seem like a logical choice, and some of them chose it, okay? And, another option was, trying to remember all the options, he means that, the blacks aren't physically strong enough to deal with these problems, right? And it seems logical, right? And then, of course, one of them was the answer that, in a case like this, because we're overpowered by the numbers, the only way out is to convince people of the right course, and that's the right answer. I don't remember all the options. But my only point here is that, and I had several questions like that, if you're careful and if you think about it, you can even use multiple choice to get to the higher levels of the taxonomy. Now I will say something about this. If you're going to do it open book. That test was open book. And here's why. Because if you want the students to synthesize, like in some cases, I'll give you another example I did, which is more of an analysis question. They had to pull stuff out of 3 or 4 different sections of the book to get the answer, right? Or in other cases, they had to go figure out the definition of a word, then apply the definition of the word, and then come up with the answer, which was some kind of synthesis. So you're using different levels of the taxonomy. You understand what I'm saying? But don't do this with a closed book test. It's too stressful. You'll stress the kids out. Because what you're making them do is memorize all the stuff, go into their memory for all the stuff, and then they have the information that they're not that certain about, try to integrate it, then try to synthesize it, and it's too much. They'll overload. The kids will be frustrated. Okay? But in actual fact, if you do it in an open book test format, and also do it with something you've already discussed, I wouldn't do it with something you haven't discussed, and you're not giving them open book. Depends on the kids. Some kids you may be able to do it with something they haven't talked about. The kids are really high level. My kids are special needs, so I had to be careful. Okay? In our case, we'd gone over it way more than a normal class would. We'd read through it, we talked about it. Okay, some cases I read a paragraph. If they didn't get a particular paragraph, I might have read that paragraph 3 or 4 times until they understood the basic ideas of it, right? But all I'm trying to say is that it is challenging to span the taxonomy, but it can be done. And I also have to say that I also have to thank Johnny and David on this one, because that has also brought out my awareness. While I was doing the test, I remembered back in the class, I was putting together this test, and I remembered Diane's comment saying, how can you do this? And then I remembered that the discussion we had saying you want to try to hit not just the lower levels, and that made me think more in designing this test too, right? And so I'm just giving you an example of how I've taken something that I haven't necessarily learned it in here, it was more of a review, although I learned it in here too. I learned some new stuff about it in here. But what I'm trying to say is that you take what we're doing in here and try to find ways to use it. Okay? It's almost kind of like a little sort of an action research project, if you will. Okay? And the result I got on this one was pretty good, actually, because the students came out, they liked it. They liked it, the fact that they were being challenged and made to think, okay, and look at this stuff. And then after, to sort of close the loop on it, I made them, because you can do the feedback with these online tests. So they had the analysis telling the ones they missed. And I said, okay, now go back into your book and find either the answer, because if it's just a fact question, you can actually find the answer. For example, one of the questions said, in 1910, Branch Rickey was. And he was the coach of Ohio Wesleyan. And that was the guy that later brought Jackie Robinson in, first to coaching college and in Major Leagues. Okay, that was a fact question, was right in the book. So they can actually find it. I said, but either if it's a fact question, I want you to find it, and if it's a question where you got to think on your own, and either a synthesis or analyze, whatever, I want you to tell me what information in the book would lead you to the right answer instead of the answer that you put down. So by this way, they're actually reflecting on what they've just done. And the result was quite good. Most of the students did well on the test. There was one student that got a 70. The rest got all 80s, 90s, quite good. Okay. And the other thing was they're kids that are using their behavior problems, they're pretty interested in going back and finding what they've done wrong and calling me over saying, okay, we got it, is this it? The reason they're motivated, of course, is because it directly applies to something they've been talking about. Okay? So anyway, thanks to you for sort of giving me the incentive to do that, and for your question that sort of tapped me into it. But I just wanted to start us off by saying, this stuff, whatever level you're at, you can use it and apply it. Okay? So now I'm going to ask you two gentlemen to come and talk to us about differentiation, correct? Yes? Okay. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. To start, we will be showing some slides, and if you can read it, say it loud.
Konnichiwa.
Thank you.
I'm not sure. Google Translate. We did our best. I think we have one over here.
Happy hat.
GA. What is this one?
What does that say? 나는 사탕을 하겠습니다. This is not incorrect.
나는 사등 습니다. 습니다? Okay.
Dr. Andrew.
It's probably wrong.
What again? Oh, that's right.
I see. Okay. Thank you again. Thank you for the gift. Yes. Okay, so actually, if you cast your minds back right to the first session, and it was a bit crazy, wasn't it? I think I found it a bit crazy. It was like a race to try and pick a topic. And I didn't really know at the time, even myself, what to really pick, maybe on that position. But we decided to go for differentiated instruction. Not knowing much about it, but I'm really so pleased that we did, because it's been a really great learning experience, I think, for both of us. And I think we've found lots of applications for our teaching as well. So I'm quite excited to share that. A bit nervous, of course, but excited to share that with you tonight. Okay, what we're going to do tonight is we're going to try and define what we think the BI is. We're going to look at the theory as well. Probably not go into too much detail. Talk a bit about that, but actually really focus on how you can use it in the classroom and what some of the applications are as well. Okay, so what we're going to do to start with, just to get some feedback from you, we're going to split into groups, and we'd like you to write one sentence, what do you think differentiated instruction is? Just one sentence. So we split into groups maybe three, so we do that tables of three. Doesn't matter if it's 3 or 4, doesn't really matter. So you write one sentence down, and then after that, if one person from your group can come up and write it on the board, just one person, maybe join this group over there.
Yeah, sure.